Good morning, Roll Gang, and welcome on inside to this Fuck Yeah Friday edition of the Weekday Wake and Bake. I'm your host this morning, Processor Sky. Just like every morning's ritual, we have awoke, so now we smoke. And it's time to hit up another Wake and Bake. Super excited about this Fuck Yeah Friday edition of the show. But before we get on into it, major shout out to the sponsors of the show this Fuck Yeah Friday morning. First and foremost, the Rolling Spoon Cannabis Multi-Tool, helping you to roll a dime every time. Use your rolling spoon to get your herb out of your grinder to wherever you smoke it. And also brought to you this morning by the Chamber of Cannabis. Roll Gang, this Chamber of Cannabis event coming up on September 6th is going to really change the game. Roll Gang, we're all about cannabis on this show. We absolutely love this beautiful plant. And it's super important that we support the politicians that support the plant. If we actually want to see change in legislation and see more love and accountability for this beautiful plant, then we have to put the right candidates into office so that we can actually move this cannabis ball forward. So there will be 10 they put the canna in candidates. There will be 10 of them at this extremely special chamber event on September 8th, Thursday, September 8th at 6 p.m. I think I mixed it up. I thought 6 p.m., whatever. But Thursday, September 8th at 6 p.m., the Chamber of Cannabis event is going to be an absolute banger, as always. Cocktails and small appetizers are free with your purchase. Come and meet these candidates. And it's super important that the candidates meet you as well. You know what I mean? They need to see that the cannabis community is so strong and just exciting, enthusiastic. So really would love to see you at the Chamber of Cannabis event coming up on September 8th. And the other sponsor of this show is also throwing an absolute banger. Roll Gang. Oaksterdam University, my proud alma mater, is throwing down on September 24th in Oakland, California, and your processor will be there. That's right, Roll Gang. The Rolling Spoon is a name sponsor of the reopening of Oaksterdam's in-person school in Oakland, California. I could not be more excited to head down to Oakland, or I guess up to Oakland, and celebrate their reopening with them. They're also going to they have a contribution to a film festival that will be showing a short film based on Oaksterdam. And not only that, Roll Gang, but for the whole event, Oaksterdam University will be giving out Oaksterdam Rolling Spoons to all of the people that come through to the event. We're expected to give out like almost 1,000 Rolling Spoons and on this one-day event, Roll Gang. So make sure if you can come out to Oakland, California, Saturday, September 24th, that is definitely going to be an absolute banger as well. More details to come on both the Chamber event and Oaksterdam University's super exciting reopening party that they're throwing down. Red carpet event at Fox Theater, Oakland, California. I mean, the enthusiasm is authentic, Roll Gang. I am so excited. Fox Theater is this legendary theater right across the street from where I went to school at Oaksterdam University. Just an absolute classic vibe in downtown Oakland. One of the original cannabis communities in this country. So without further ado, Roll Gang, I actually have a super exciting episode. I wanted to do what I do best on this Fuck Yeah Friday episode of the show. And I want to do a deep dive breakdown into the art of rolling joints. That's right, Roll Gang. My job on this episode of the show is to give you the values necessary to execute a perfect roll that will result in the sublime smoking experience once you spark it. We don't want it to burn too fast. We don't want it to not have any pull. We don't want it to run. And we want it to be as potent as possibly can be for us. So all of these factors are super important in rolling a dime every time. And I just wanted to really make sure that the Roll Gang knows all the details necessary for rolling joints. But this episode is not only relevant for joint smokers. All of the values that I'm going to try to instill are the same for all type of smokable cannabis consumption methods, such as blunts, hemp wraps, inside-out papers, no matter what, you name it, you roll it, these values matter, Roll Gang. So really excited to roll up this joint with you guys and teach you the roll rules. So first and foremost, I am using a filter. This is not actually a filter though. Notice, there's nothing in it. It's actually just a guide. So, filters, I don't actually mind Scooby Snacks. If you want to roll your own filters and have the little zigzags in there to stop it, you don't need a filter in your joints, but it's really important to have a guide. So the guide will give you the basis for how much herb you're supposed to put in. If you're trying to roll super fat, you need a fatter guide. And if you're trying to roll skinnier, you need a skinny guide. I have a skinny guide this morning, so I'm not going to put too much herb in this joint. But it's super important to have the ratio of your herb, the distribution of your herb, to the size of the guide that you put into your paper. So this small guide probably needs about 2 rolling spoon scoops of herb to fill it up. And once you have the two scoops within the paper, you want to make sure that the distribution of the herb is completely even. Raw Josh likes to say that you have to roll from tight to loose, as the joint goes progressively. I completely disagree. You do not want to pull a big ember through a small hole. It has to be even the entire way through. And the cannabis has to be able to percolate through the cannabis that's continuing through the joint. I'll explain that a little bit more in detail once I roll this one up. So once you have the perfect distribution, you want to fold it up into a taco. And notice I have all 4 corners of the joint paper meeting right now, which is super important for rolling an even joint. You basically fold the paper, but in the crease point of the paper is all of your herb. Then with the straight edge of your rolling spoon, you're going to use the straight edge to be the top pressure. So if you think about it from 360 degrees, the paper is giving the herb formation from the bottom 270 degrees. But the top is still open. And whenever you fold up the paper, you'll notice you'll have a mohawk shape in your weed. So you want to press down the mohawk with the straight edge of your rolling spoon, creating a perfectly even distribution. But you don't want to push down too hard to make the joint too tight, and you don't want to push down too light to make the joint not stick. So make sure that you're using the proper, I'd say, medium pressure whenever pressing down on the joint with your straight edge. Then once you have the snake formation down pat, those are the factors for it. You go down, you catch your tuck, you lick it, and you stick it. And roll gang, this is a pearl, but not really because it looks like a pearl, but because it's going to burn like one. There's a specific amount of factors. There is 5 factors when it comes to a joint smoking experience. And I want to individually break them down with you guys really fast while we're smoking this joint. Notice the cigarette shape, not very conial at all. Cigarette nice and even. You do not want to pull a big ember through a small hole. So you want to make sure it's pretty evenly distributed throughout the whole experience. Blunt smokers know this. There's no cone-shaped blunt, you know, and blunts burn great. That even parallel roll, you know, cigarette shaped. So basically, the 5 factors going into a perfectly smoking joint. The first one is evenness. We can achieve this when distributing the herb evenly throughout the joint when we're aligning it. So between that and the straight edge, rolling an even joint is uber necessary, because if it's not even, then the part with less tolerance for the pull will pull through faster. You know what I mean? So whenever you're pulling a joint, you're pulling air through this straw. And the air is going to go through the path of least resistance. So if the joint isn't rolled exactly perfectly, then the airflow is going to go down the path of least resistance. And with the airflow comes the ember. And that's how joints run. So the air is coming through this canal, the path of least resistance. The ember is coming down with it, leaving a shit ton of weed compoundly packed on the other side, completely unburnt, and you're not going to get to smoke it. So evenness in your roll is going to be primely essential. Rule number 1 in joint rolling. Rule number 2 is tightness. You know, if you roll it too loose, it's going to burn too fast, and if you roll it too tight, you're not going to be able to pull. So those are the 2 first rolling up factors that you want to make sure you master whenever you're rolling up, is the evenness of your herb in your joint and the tightness in which you roll it. So I was able to use the straight edge to pack it exactly tight as I want it, and the scooper to distribute the joint evenly. So now the third most important factor in smoking a joint is the spark itself. So you have to get a super even spark. You can't just put it up to your mouth and rip it super hard and expect it to burn even. You want to char the outside of the paper in a circular motion, making sure that it started to burn the whole way around. Make a little perfectly even black circle on the top of your joint. And once it's all begun, the process of burning the joint has begun, it's ready to pull. And you want a real gentle kiss of a pull here, roll gang. Move the joint around a little bit whenever you're sparking it. And then whenever you pull it again, that cherry will be perfect. Roll gang, look at this baby. Perfectly even cherry every fucking time. And it's super important. So there's 2 more extremely important factors when smoking a joint to lead to the perfect smoking experience. The first in the actual smoking experience is ember temp. Roll gang, mind your ember temp. People mind their ember temp so much when they're dabbing. Why not when they're smoking? You know, the temp of your banger is the temp of your ember. You don't want that baby to burn too hot, and you don't want to let it go out. There's a perfect medium ground that you can find. And the way that you can achieve this is through the 5th factor, the drag pace. Well, I let it go out. I talk a lot. But drag pace is super important, roll gang. You cannot drag too slow. You cannot drag too slow. If you drag too fast, though, you're going to pull even the most evenly rolled joint ever. You know what I mean? I'll try to show you here. But the perfect pace, nice and slow, like little kisses. See, it chucks. You don't need any more than that. The ember will burn perfectly. That low and slow. It's always the way. Absolutely perfect. That's the good draw. But roll gang, don't be the person in the sesh that's pulling the joint too hard and making it run for everybody else. Because you're not only making it run. Think about this. So your joint is a straw. It has a whole bunch of herb, and then it's topped with heat, flame, ember, fire. So that heat, whenever you're pulling it, the heat is traveling down the joint through the straw towards your mouth, bringing the smoke and the medicine in. But the smoke isn't the medicine, roll gang. It's the heat produced by the ember that's being dragged through the fresh herb and vaporizing all of the cannabinoids within the joint. So whenever you get down super low, you're not actually smoking any medicine. Right now, I'm smoking the medicine in this part of the joint. The heat of this ember is vaporizing the cannabinoids around this part of the joint. So ember temp matters so much. You want to vaporize those cannabinoids at the lowest temperature so you don't vaporize too deep into the joint, and you want to make sure that it's an even pace. You know, if you're pulling super hard, you could vaporize the entire joint in one pull, and then for the rest of the time, you're just smoking ash. So make sure that the joint doesn't get too hot when you're smoking it. A good way to make sure that your pull pace is really good is put your fingers where you want the vaporization process to end. You know, hold the joint by almost the ember, and you should still be able to rip it without burning your fingers. If you're pulling too hard, this will burn your fingers. But yeah, so the 5 factors when it comes to the perfect joint experience are the evenness and tightness of the roll, the spark, you know, having good fundamentals and technique in sparking your joint is super important, the temperature of the ember when you're smoking it, and your drag pace. So roll gang, I theorize that even if I have a horrible drag pace, if I kill myself right now and drag this really fucking hard, like I think I'm gonna for you guys, I think it's gonna run still. It's perfectly even, but whenever you up the ember temp and you drag too hard, I mean, it really does start to run. Ooh, that hurt. See, pulled it too hard. Ruined the whole thing. And if you have a friend that does that, I mean, the rest of the joint, that's going to be tough. You guys all know how it is. Everybody has a friend that does that. Just break down the ember. That hurt. Like, fuck that. I'm never doing that again. Ugh. Let that ember temp get back down to normal. And hit it with a super low and slow drag. If it's perfectly even rolled, it'll eventually catch back up with itself. See, one badly paced rip can ruin a whole joint. For not only you, but your whole entire squad. So yeah, roll even the whole way. Make it look like a cigarette. You don't want to pull a big ember through a small hole. And another one, roll gang. Quit on fucking roaches. This is all vaporized. And there is carcinogens in smoke. I mean, cannabis smoke is different than all other smoke, but don't get your lips so close to the ember. Quit on roaches. Roll a freshie with your rolling spoon, and make sure that you guys roll a dime every fucking time, because this delicacy is worth it. We can't afford to be smoking bad joints, so roll a dime every time and really enjoy the process of it, because it's such an enjoyable ritual. Rolling up, making sure that it's nice and perfect, but then the view at the end of the hike, aka smoking the joint that you rolled, it's got to be a perfect experience, roll gang. But huge shout out to the Rolling Spoon. I really hope to see the whole roll gang at the Chamber of Cannabis event September 8th. It is going to be an absolute banger. 10 cannabis candidates. That's right, say that fast. 10 cannabis candidates coming through to chop it up with us. Let's let them see the charisma and pride of the cannabis industry, and they will help us advance and move the ball forward, because we got to keep the ball rolling here in the cannabis industry. And Oaksterdam University throwing down September 24th. The Oaksterdam Rolling Spoon will be in Fox Theater, downtown Oakland. Whew, the hype cannot be more real for this amazing September. Thank you all, Roll Gangers, for tuning in to this Fuck Yeah Friday episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. Your Processor Sky doing a joint rolling seminar for you guys. I guess I'm going to have to do another one soon with a blunt, because I love smoking blunts. I never do it, but all of this stuff is directly transferable. And I need to show you guys, because I know I have a lot of blunt smokers, and we need to keep improving our rolling game until it's perfect every time. Make sure you have your rolling spoon. Oaksterdam Rolling Spoon coming soon. Chamber of Cannabis Rolling Spoon at this event. I mean, these events are going to be so lit, and I am so excited to see all you guys there. So for your Processor Sky, with another Weekday Wake and Bake Fuck Yeah Friday edition, you guys are all the shit. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing, amazing weekend, Roll Gang. I will hit you on the socials. I'm going to be at the Raiders game tonight with my friends. Shout out Jillian and Gianna Maservi, the OGs. You know, I'm so excited to be going to this Raiders game with the GMs. We're gonna get super blitzed and watch some blitzes over at Allegiant Stadium and get super lit. So huge shout out to the gang. If anybody else is going to the Raiders game, let's sesh before, or hit me up. We'll meet on inside or something. Let's go watch that silver and black take on. I don't even know who the fuck they're playing, but somebody. It'll be fun to watch for sure. Love you guys, Roll Gang. We'll see you on Monday for a Motivational Monday episode of the Weekday Wake and Bake. I'll see you.